way it came out. So that's a one rubbish which was totally totally debunked. You can't even discuss such an issue. The other point is he made the issue of the rape allegations. And I think on this particular point, I need to share something with you. I'm going to try and share screen. This particular channel, and I urge brothers to see this, share screen. I'm just going to try and share a screen here. New York Times. I think can you see the screen now?
Yeah, I've got it now. I've got it. I'm gonna put it on now.
So this is, are you able to see the screen? So this is, I'm just going to go up. This is basically from an excellent website by Ali Abu Nima, brilliant guy, the Electronic Intifada. And this is, I urge brothers to go, but it goes on to this New York Times article, which deals with the issue of where this article was of rape came up by an individual called Jeffrey Gettleman. And this basic article relied on an allegation of rape against one woman. And that allegation of rape was in fact debunked by the family members of that rape victim. Now, he makes a point, and he calls this particular individual here, his name is Ras Cohen. I don't know if you can see this. This is his Twitter account. Can you see this? Can you see the screen? The Twitter account of this?
It's clear, mashallah.
It's clear. So the Twitter account is clear there. This individual here, Ras Cohen, the eyewitness. This is the eyewitness that keeps changing his particular story. This particular individual here. Now, if you look at this specific individual, and let's just go back. I just want to close this and go back to this this particular thread. If I can just see him. Can you see this? Can you see this image?
Yeah.
Can you see this image here? This image. Can you see the image? Is this image clear?
Yeah, it is clear. Yeah.
And can you see the next image? Sorry, let me just close this here. There's an image I just want to show you here. Can you see this picture? Is this clear?
Yeah.
Can you see the selfie? Can you see the selfie and the thumbs up? Can you see that?
Yes.
Right. Now this thumbs up image, this picture of this character who spread the story of the mass rape, this is a picture and a selfie taken by him about a couple of hours after the Hamas attack. Can you believe that? This is the individual. This is directly from his particular Twitter feed. This is immediately, this was after the incident of the actual rape. So this is, as you can see, Rasko and Shum are two of the four eyewitnesses who claim to have witnessed rapes during the Nova festival. On October 7th, this is afterwards, Ras posed a smiling selfie while lying in the very steam bed with Shoam, where they claim to have witnessed the rape. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is the individual that is basically involved in the so-called incident of the particular rape that is taking place. Then we've got a situation here, Propaganda and Company. I hope I can open up the subsequent pages here. Propaganda and Company, breaking propaganda, but more particularly the individuals that are here. Let me just see if I can get the specific. It's called here. The thread is called the rape victim that keeps on changing the stories. For some reason, I can't seem to open the full thread itself. But let me just see if I can click on this here or click on that there. It just shows that. Let me see where I can go here. Propaganda and Company, highlights. It basically shows that there were numerous individuals. Numerous interviews that this guy was giving. For some reason, I can't seem to open, but there were numerous interviews that he was basically going and giving out. And essentially, it was only after about the fifth or the sixth time where he was interviewed that he came up with the particular story of rape. And prior to that, there was no allegation in relation to the rape that had taken place. The other aspect is this. Is that the lady or the woman that had claimed to have been raped. And this you can see. Do you see the news article called Mondeweiss? Can you see that?
Yeah, it's clear, Brother Yusuf.
So the New York Times reporter, Jeffrey Gettleman, reported that this lady, Gal Abdush, was raped. But the family of the rape victim, has on numerous accounts repudiated the allegations of rape. And let me read this out to you before I close up. It says, on December 28th, the New York Times published an investigative report on gender-based violence on October 7th. The story repeats the October 7th testimonies that have previously been debunked, including the testimony of that guy there. That's one of the guys. Although claiming its story proves the attacks against women were not isolated but part of broader, the veracity of the New York Times was undermined almost as soon as it was published, including from Abdush family, who says that there is no proof that Gal Abdush was raped and that the New York Times interviewed them under false pretenses. A heartbreaking account, Working Class, the newspaper, the report, they said this is according to Times, the video went viral. The newspaper did not link to the article. The newspaper narrates a tragedy of the family and so on and so forth. It goes on. There's a key issue here. And this is what they say. On December 29th, the Israeli website Ynet published an interview with Eti Baraka, Gal Abdush's mother. In the interview, the mother says that the family knew nothing about the sexual assault issue until the piece of the Times was published. We didn't know about the rape at all. We only knew after a New York Times journalist contacted us. Then on January 1st, Nissim Abdush, Nagi's brother, appeared in an interview. During the 14-minute interview, Nissim repeatedly denied that his sister-in-law was raped. He explained that his brother Nagi had called him at 7 in the morning, saying that his wife was killed and that he was next to the body. Then he continued to communicate until 7:44 and never mentioned anything that informed them of these doubts or the investigation. Neither the police nor the forensic experts. In the interview, Abdush reiterated that his brother's wife was not raped and that the media invented it. Gal's sisters, this is a lady raped, also denied allegations of rape. Her sister Tal Baraki says, nobody can know what Gal went through. I plead with you, stop spreading lies. Stop spreading lies. There's a family and children behind them. No one can know if she was raped while she was burnt alive. Have you gone mad? I've spoken to Nagi personally. At 7 o'clock, Gal was killed by those animals and they shot her. Nagi was alive until, that's her husband, until 8:15. Like Amiral, Gal's sister wrote a comment on Instagram. I can't understand all these reports. There were many different stories. Why the story in particular? It is based on one video published without the family's knowledge. So when we go back to the electronic intifada, they actually point out to the New York Times article. And if you go to the New York Times article here, and we open the New York Times article, this false story, it's called Screams. Let me just put this clip down. Screams without words, how Hamas weaponized sexual violence. And you go and you see these burned vehicles, again, burned by the Israeli force, not by Hamas. But one of the individuals, in fact, the core individual that was behind these rape allegations, is this guy here. Can you see him? Can you see this guy here? Ras Cohen, a security consultant who survived the October 7th attacks by hiding in a dried up steam bed. And in the steam bed, we find him taking selfies. So imagine this man is seeing basically women and children being raped. They're being shot in the vaginas. They're being massacred. Women are being dragged. They all gathered around her. She's standing up. They started raping her. I saw the men standing in a half circle. One penetrates her. She screams. I still remember. Then I saw one of them raise a knife, and then he cut off her breast. They slaughtered her. This is a guy that saw this particular incident. He saw this particular incident, and he's narrating this. And then he basically went and took cover in the steam bed where these particular individuals were raped. and then eventually he's taking selfies. He's found to take selfies. So you know what's going on? What's going on this particular instance? That he's taking selfies in a stream where he's actually seeing these particular individuals being raped. Does this actually make sense in any way, shape, or form? Does this make sense? I mean, this is the individual. This is the character that's basically behind all this garbage that you essentially see. I don't know if we can play videos. Can you play a video? Are you able to play a video?
Have you seen
if you
this
can,
video?
I can hear it.
Blinken spreading atrocity
Can everybody hear it?
to the U.S.
Can
Senate.
you type in
Family
one?
of four, a
If
young
you
boy
can
and
hear
girl,
it.
6 and 8 years old, and their parents around
Can
the
you hear it?
breakfast
So I'm just going to play what Blinken says here. Look at what he says.
table. The father, his eye gouged out in front of his kids. The mother's breast cut off. The girl's foot amputated. The boy's fingers cut off before they were executed. And then their executioners sat down and had a meal. That's what this society is dealing with.
Secretary Blinken wants you to believe that this actually happened, but the entire story is a lie. It has been thoroughly debunked. Most, if not all, of the atrocity stories coming out are bogus lies. We've seen them get debunked over and over. So it begs the question, where are these lies coming from? Who is behind them? And why do high-level U.S. officials keep repeating them? Well, the answer is likely going to disgust you. You see, there is a sort of race to the bottom taking place right now between competing Israeli disaster relief groups. It's a competition to see who can tell the most disturbing story. Oh, you saw beheaded babies? Well, I saw babies being baked.
So he goes on
And
to discuss
disaster
something
relief
called
groups
Zaka.
that are fighting for media attention and
So
charitable
I want to share with you what Zaka is. So Zaka, let me go to Zaka Wikipedia and just see what Zaka is. If it'll open the page. Zaka Rescue Units. Zaka. Can you see my page? Are you able to see my page?
Yeah, it's nice and clear.
Zaka is a series of voluntary community emergency response teams, each operating in police districts. Now, these are the individuals that came up with the atrocity propaganda, but I just want to show you the history of this organization. This individual, the actual founder of Zaka, Zaka's founder, Yehuda Meshi Zahav, co-founder and main figure for more than 30 years, awarded the Israeli Peace Prize in 2001. There have been multiple accusations surfaced of him having committed sexual assaults against women, girls, and boys over several decades with the knowledge of others in the community. Channel 13 reported that Zaka officials had known about abuse allegations and worked to silence the claims. Meshi Zahaf subsequently resigned Zaka and relinquished the Israeli prize. But this is an individual. And in the aftermath of the 2023 Hamas attack, Zaka was said by the Israeli newspaper Haaretz to have given several incorrect reports of atrocities allegedly committed by Hamas against children and babies that were widely circulated in the media. Zaka acknowledged mistakes were made. When we find that bodies were burnt or in a state of decomposition, we can easily be mistaken and think the body is a child's. Our volunteers were confronted with traumatic scenes and sometimes misinterpreted what they saw. So essentially, the Israeli social security data reveals the true pictures of the October 17th deaths. And the reality of the situation is that they were said to have lied. Their own individual, their own person, their own individual, their own organization. This organization here, Zaka, this is a source of the atrocity propaganda that has now found its way throughout. So when you hear Elon Levi and Mark Regev and Sky News or Talk TV or BBC or CNN speaking about atrocity propaganda, this comes from Zaka. And Zaka, the founder of Zaka, was a pedophile. The founder of Zaka has had a history of having committed sexual assault against women, girls, and boys over several decades, and Zaka, in fact, covered that up. Now, imagine the irony of this, that you are spreading rape atrocity propaganda, and your own founder is a known rapist and pedophile. I mean, what is going on here? What on earth is going on? So this is a kind of lies that we can see, and I would urge people to basically speak out. And the Electronic Intifada, particularly by Ali Abunima, has done a phenomenal job, and together with Nola Barros Friedman, and you can clearly see that the so-called mass rapes that have said to be occurring was totally false. Totally false. As you can see, did the Israeli voluntary group handling the dead of October 7th exploit its role? The Zaka volunteer group began collecting bodies. An investigation reveals cases of negligence, misinformation, and a fundraising campaign that uses the dead as props. Can you see that? This is a problem. Zaka is not a trustworthy source for allegations of sexual violence on October 7th. This is the organization behind the atrocity propaganda that you essentially see. Zaka has played a key role in Israel's orchestrated propaganda campaign, spreading fake news and vague information in the service of Israel's genocidal war on Gaza. So basically, a significant part, and this is the report by Minister Netanyahu to Zaka teams, we need to buy time, which is also buying by turning to world leaders into public opinion. You have an important role in influencing public opinion. Zaka testimonies give us the maneuvering room. Can you see that? So Mondevais does an excellent background deconstruction on why Zaka is not a trustworthy source for these allegations of sexual violence. And the very individual that was spreading these violence and sought refuge in the place where the rape took place, he's sending smiling selfies. I mean, this guy is a madman. What's he doing? Sending smiling selfies on his Instagram page just immediately after he witnesses a particular rape. Does that make sense? It's insane. So what you need to know is the key points, as mentioned in the New York Times, in the Electronic Intifada. The key points are: the New York Times identifies 4 eyewitnesses for alleged rape. One of these, Ras Cohen, is the one that's found taking selfies after he saw these atrocities and smiling. He didn't look too traumatized. Each of these eyewitnesses, whose accounts are not new, lack credibility. This is either because their stories are inherently unlikely or impossible. There's a lack of corroboration, including bodies and other physical and forensic evidence. The Times investigation, like the previous Washington Post, does not confirm the existence of victims of physical or forensic evidence. Zaka, a leading newspaper, it's a Jewish religious group, and has been caught falsifying atrocity propaganda. Zaka was founded by a man accused of serial mass rapes over a number of decades. This is confirmed even on Wikipedia. And despite Israel saying there are tens of thousands of videos, the authorities have not claimed that a single one of them shows a rape or a sexual assault taking place, and a glaring absence. Not one. Not one. And this is a guy, propaganda and his company. For some reason, I can't seem to find the particular thread which shows that this man is changing his story at every single angle, changing his story nonstop. For some reason, it's not opening. But this is a guy. This is the individual that keeps changing his particular version, keeps changing his story, keeps changing his version all the time, and his story doesn't make sense. These are the people that you see that are basically sharing. And as you can see here, victims of capitalism. This is a person. These are 2 of the eyewitnesses. This is a New York Times, a young Israeli. This is a New York Times report, and it says that he found cover. He's an Israeli. He worked in the DRC, training Congolese soldiers, the scumbag. He provides some cover to the areas, and then he sought refuge after the attack in a steam bed. He says they all started raping her. They penetrated her. They used a knife on her. They cut off breast. And this is after the incident. Does this guy look? Is this guy for real? So he's giving us
his thumb up, hasn't he? Has he got his thumb up? Is he like got his thumb up?
He says one of them raises a knife. They slaughtered her. Then Shoam Guetta, one of Mr. Cohen's friend and a fashion designer, said the 2 were hiding together in the steam bed. This is a New York Times article. He said he saw at least 4 men step out of the van and attack the woman, who ended up between the legs. He said they were talking, giggling, and shouting, and that one of them stabbed her with a knife repeatedly, literally butchering her, cutting her breasts up. This is what the scumbag Rabbi Shmuley, who we're challenging for a debate, was lying on the Piers Morgan show. And Piers Morgan, just there was no pushback by Piers Morgan. He sat down like a clueless fool, saying nothing. And this is a steam bed that he's sitting in. Can you see the thumbs up?
Yeah, that's
this
what
guy has witnessed a rape. This is on his Facebook page. He's now removed. I'm sorry, his Instagram page, which is removed. But Electronic Intifada has caught it. They've done phenomenal work. This is his Instagram page. And what do you see? He's smiling next to the other guy who's escaped. He's got a thumbs up. He's got a thumbs up. He's smiling. And he has just said, he's told the New York Times, he just saw a woman being butchered, gang raped, cutting of a breast. Read the New York Times article by Jeffrey Gettleman, which Hillary Clinton repeated, where she was heckled recently, I think last week, which Anthony Blinken repeated at the Senate hearing, which every single media news outlet has been repeating. And this is a guy. This is a character. These are the individuals that are behind the kind of the rubbish that you essentially see. And it goes on. This is another article. This is a senior CIA, John Stockwell, and this is a short clip I may play. This was during the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Look what he says. Let me see if this guy, if I can play this. I don't know if you can play this. Can this be heard? Hold on a second. Can you hear it now?
I can't hear anything.
Can you hear now?
Slight voice. I can hear some mumbling, but I can't make it out.
Okay, look, what he's basically saying is that during the Cuban Missile Crisis and certainly subsequently, we pumped dozens of stories about Cuban atrocities, Cuban rapists. We ran fake photographs that made every paper in the country. It was pure, raw, false propaganda to create the illusion of communists eating babies for breakfast. Can you see this clip here? This is the actual post. Can you see this? This is a former CIA agent, John Stockwell.
You know, brother Yusuf, the narrative they always bring why there's a high rate of innocent people dying in Gaza is because Hamas is using them as human shields.
Yeah.
How much bullshit? Sorry, I shouldn't say that. I apologize for using that fact. How much more BS can we listen to from these media outlets where they are saying that women and children are used as human shields? There's no evidence of that. There's nothing of. I've not seen anything. It just really shocks me how much, I want to say it again, how much BS there is that coming out from the media. There are innocent women and children in refugee camps being slaughtered. Are they human shields? What kind of human shields?
This is the point, brother, is that what they needed, what the Israeli Hasbara needed, they were always wanting. I'm going to go further than Azhar Ali. Israel, basically, as far as a year ago, they knew about the fact that Hamas was going to basically, there was going to be a security breach. They knew fully about this, and they allowed it to happen in order to basically ensure that in the long term they can basically enter Gaza and decimate Gaza and destroy it, and eventually basically get their civilians, Israeli settlers, back into Gaza and take control. It's part and parcel of the Zionist project. But they wouldn't be able to do this, and they wouldn't achieve this without the atrocity propaganda. Therefore, you have to have this kind of atrocity propaganda of mass rape, of cutting off women's breasts, of these so-called lies there. They needed this. This needed there. It had to be justified because of the fact that without it, they wouldn't do this insane behavior. And they can basically justify this. Look, Hamas raped people. So this is the article. Yossi Lando, the head of operations for the southern region of Zaka, Israel's volunteer, told CBS News on Wednesday that he personally saw adults and children, including babies, who had been beheaded. That's a lie. It never happened.
Biden came out the next day. He clearly said it after the 7th of October. He said he saw pictures and images of beheaded babies. What a bullcrap that was. And also in the West Bank, brothers and sisters, Hamas does not control the West Bank. And throughout these 100+ days, thousands and thousands of innocent people have been detained, taken by the IDF to unknown locations, possibly being tortured to death, probably being raped and whatever.
Yeah,
possibly. Okay, and there are reports.
This is another point, which maybe in deference to your MP Azhar Ali, I don't know if this will go out, how far this will go, this podcast will go out to many people. But if you can see this New York Times article, can you see this New York Times article on the page?
Yeah.
Israel knew Hamas's attack plan more than a year ago. Now, the report is Israeli officials obtained Hamas's battle plan for the October 7th allegedly terrorist attack before it happened. Documents, emails, but Israeli military dismissed the plan as aspirational, considering it too difficult for Hamas to carry out. The approximately 40-page document, which the Israeli authorities codenamed Jericho Wall, outlined point by point exactly the kind of devastating invasion that led to the deaths of about 1,200 people. So now my question is, if the story is correct, if there was a blueprint that they knew, and Hamas followed the blueprint, according to the New York Times report, this is their media with shocking precision. The document called for a barrage of rockets and the drones to knock out the security cameras and automated machines. How come Israel just stood back and allowed this to happen? In the 2019 Great March of Return, when people and little children were walking towards the Israeli security wall or the Israeli apartheid wall, just as a peaceful return to say, look, symbolically, we're unarmed, we want to come back to our land. They were shot dead in cold blood by the Israeli death squad and the IDF. And so if they knew about this a year ago, as the story goes, did they allow this to happen? Did they allow Hamas to come in and at least hold back their security for some time and then invoke the Hannibal Doctrine and so on and so forth? So I think that's what Azhar Ali was essentially trying to say in relation to allowing it to happen. And this goes back to the whole point. Was this maybe a false flag operation in order for to allow Israel to allow the so-called military operation to occur and then go and totally destroy Gaza? So it gives an opportunity to destroy Gaza, just like the Nazis. The Nazis couldn't engage in the insane mayhem and massacres in peacetime. They wouldn't have been able to commit what they did in 1937, in 1936, in 1935, or 1936 after the Olympic Games. They were only able to do it during wartime. And similarly, it would have created a massive stink for Israel to basically just go into Gaza and obliterate and destroy the place. They needed a background story. They needed the atrocity propaganda. They needed, as the New York Times stated, a blueprint for what Hamas may possibly do through their intelligence and networks like Shin Bet and Mossad. They probably knew the plan. If they obtained the plan, if Israeli officials obtained the plan more than a year ago, meaning they were prepared and they allowed this to happen. Is that what really happened in order to basically engage in this insane behavior of theirs that you see and this genocide? This is the reality of what's going on. So
there is a pattern.
That's all I can say.
I do see a pattern with the Western governments and their plans, is that every war that they seem to have started, they always say the women are being oppressed. Have you ever noticed that? Especially in Afghanistan, the women are being oppressed. They're forced to wear the burqas. Same with Iraq. Same with the majority of every Islamic country. They always say that the women are being oppressed. And this here, Brother Yusuf, has really exposed what you've just done there, have really exposed their hypocrisy, their double standards. And I really appreciate, mashallah, that particular segment. And I will definitely clip that, because that is
if
valuable.
You can clip this segment, this will be fantastic and show this world. And certainly, clip the segment. We are putting forth a challenge to Rabbi Shmuley, to Joseph Cohen, to anyone out there who wants to challenge us. Come on Brother Muhammad's platform, and we are willing to take you on. And we want to unclog the brainwashing that you may have gone through. Unclog